Well, I am so grateful you're here, and I'm so grateful for this little booklet that you provided for our Lenten journey. If you haven't picked one up yet, they're on the welcome table. And today's entry is detachment. I never knew there were so many ways of letting go. But every single day for 40 days is like a new thing to let go of. I realize I've got a whole bunch to let go of. I don't know about you, but I'm ready. I'm getting lighter by the minute. This booklet is what's guiding us through the Lenten journey. And we start with the reading in the booklet today by Reverend Paul Hasselbeck. Paul's a great guy. He's a wonderful teacher. He was head of the Unity School for many years. The first time I met Paul Hasselbeck, I was at Unity Village for the very first time, Monday morning at the breakfast buffet. And Paul came up to me and said, "You're trouble." Excuse me? Well, apparently, I arrived at Unity Village when there was a bit of a backlog of data entry, and only one of my required spiritual education classes was in their computer. They hadn't put any of the other ones in the computer. So my transcript just had one class on it. And yet I was there for licensed Unity teacher training. So he said, we had to hire a temp just to type in all of your information. Said, you're welcome. Anyway, detachment is so powerful. He says here, attachment is not the problem. Unhealthy attachment is. He goes on to say, the solution is simple. The application takes patience. Detachment involves no longer giving power or importance to unhealthy attachment, while refocusing our desire, our love, on our inherent divinity. And that's true. We're attached to so many things. Desire is born of our love. And there's so much that we love, yes? Well, loving things and desiring things and appreciating what we have is not the problem. So there's healthy attachment. I'm attached to this community. It feels very good to me. But unhealthy attachment is when that person, place, or thing becomes more important than ourselves. If we prize the car so much that it's more important than anything else in our life, it might be an unhealthy attachment. An attachment on a really good resentment is an unhealthy attachment. There's all kinds of unhealthy attachments, and we know what they are. They're the things that cause us pain. They pull us into the past, or they trap us against the wall of the future. And that's not living. And we want to live. We want to be free, yes? So this is where we're headed on this journey. Melody Beatty is a great teacher, a wonderful writer. She's brought wisdom to the 12-step programs with her seminal work on codependency. It's powerful stuff. She says detachment involves present moment living in the here and now. We allow life to happen instead of forcing and trying to control it. We relinquish regrets over the past and fears about the future. We make the most of each day. Every week when we talk about these spiritual truths, it always brings us to the same place. Be here now. Be fully present. And in that, we are not attached to anything from our past, and we're not attached to anything of what, oh my God, what's going to happen? The present moment. And it's our work as spiritual beings to relinquish the fears, to accept, to forgive, to allow, so that we can have the experience of what's next. What in life is birthing for me today? What's opening me to this day? And it's opening ourselves to knowing where to detach and where we want to live and reside. And it always comes down to being in the present moment. Thich Nhat Hanh passed last year, a very powerful Vietnamese monk who really brought his peace movement, his countenance and serenity globally, highly respected. And he says, letting go gives us freedom. And freedom is the only condition for happiness. If in our heart we still cling to anything, anger, anxiety, or possessions, we cannot be free. And if we can't be free, we can't be happy. So, does it really come down to this? If I let go of my anger, I let go of my anxiety, and I let go of being attached to my possessions. There's no problem having stuff. It's when we're attached to it. If we're attached to something, it's always with us. We just carry it along, maybe metaphorically, but we carry it along with us all the time. And we don't need to drag that stuff around. The most important thing in my life is connecting with that ultimate source of good, God, in every breath and every step. That's the one thing I want. And it takes choosing it again and again and again. I wish it was just a matter of like, okay, you and me, God, and it's done. But it doesn't work that way. That old prayer says, give us this day our daily bread. You mean I don't get tomorrow's bread? No, you get today's bread. Because God's only in the present moment. God doesn't live in the past or the future. I want the whole truck to back up and give me all the bread I'm ever going to need. It doesn't work that way. Gary's world, according to Gary, doesn't work that way. I've tried. And aside from running for dictator of the globe, which I decided is just an exhausting job, I just wouldn't. Now, if they granted me, I know some things I would do. 24 hours of dictator of the universe, I would get things done. Boom, boom, boom. But I'm sorry, Thich Nhat Hanh. We'll come back to freedom and happiness. So if freedom is the bed where we can experience happiness, how do we detach? What's going to be the tools we can use to detach from the anger, anxiety, and the possessions? Well, we'll get to that. And I wanted to wrap this talk up by this wisdom of this 13th century mystic, Meister Eckhart. He says, he who would be serene and pure needs but one thing: detachment. Now, we don't talk about detachment very much. And if it's this foundation to our peace and serenity and our happiness, because we're letting go of stuff all the time. This book is a clear example of that. And in our process of awakening to this now moment, we are opening ourselves up to, what do I need to forgive? What do I need to love? What do I need to simply let go of? It's amazing how it loses its importance if we can freely just let go of it. I've had the experience when I'm clearing out a closet or a drawer or something and finding that thing that's, this just is a wonderful memory, and it's a rock. I can get attached to anything. But if I'm really done with it, I can place it out in the yard. I can take a picture of it and then place it out in the yard. And if I ever want to look at it and go, I remember that moment on the beach. Oh, Patmos. And it takes me back for the memory, for the joy, for the happiness. I don't need the stuff. And that's the world of our spiritual choice for detachment. Thank you. So as I've been doing for a few weeks here, I've offered a personal exploration. So this week you can dabble more into this if you want to. So some tips on how to detach with love. Number one, setting boundaries. I'll do that. I won't do that. This is what's important to me. Time to sleep, time to work out, time to be. Those are all boundaries. And if there's people who are crossing our boundaries all the time, we need to be clear. Number two, not giving unsolicited advice. Yep, that means each of us. If someone says, I would like your advice on, that's solicited advice. And if they haven't said that, just don't extend advice. It's not going to be heard anyway. Number three, allowing others to do for themselves. How else are they going to sprout wings? How else are they going to live if they aren't doing it for themselves? Defining for themselves what's right and wrong, what is and isn't. Each of us needs to identify our own truth. And 4 goes along with that, not accepting responsibility for other people's problems. Ever spent your time in other people's space? I shared a couple months ago the idea that if you took an imaginary hula hoop over your head and you dropped it to the ground, yes, the hula hoop just needs to be bigger than your body is, and drops down, everything in that space of the hula hoop is my business, is each of our business. Anything outside of the hula hoop is none of my business. And I have spent a lot of my years in your hula hoop because I just know what needs to be done. Oh, I can help there. Let me do it. Oh, it's okay. Not my responsibility. Go back to number 3, allowing others to do for themselves. And the last is recognizing that your feelings and your needs are valid. What I want, what I need is valid. So, take these, write your own, and let's practice detaching with love and see if we can encourage more freedom, more serenity, more life, and more happiness.